Games Workshop revealed new Ogre models for Age of Sigmar during their big summer preview. We'll go through everything that has been shown in that preview, but I just want to start with the Ogor Mawtribes, which is basically a complete range refresh, and this is a pretty big deal because the core of the army has essentially been frozen in time since the original Ogre Kingdoms released in 2005, which makes many of these kids over 20 years old, and this refresh finally brings them up to modern Games Workshop standard. While it's maybe not so evident anymore, back in 2005 these guys were revolutionary. When Ogre Kingdoms released for Warhammer Fantasy, they weren't just another faction. Before them, big guys were usually one monster surrounded by lots of infantry or smaller cavalry. And then Games Workshop basically asked, what if the monsters were the entire army? And nowadays we are spoiled with elite armies. Back then, this was new. And I gotta say, back in the day, I was amazed by the idea, but I simply did not like the models all that much. And while they were undeniably a huge step forward in quality and detail of the sculpts, they were kind of blocky. The proportions were weird, but people still loved them instantly. And the fact you didn't need that many models for an army anymore made them rather popular. This guy was sculpted when YouTube didn't even exist. So to me, this feels a lot more like an event than just another model release. Because finally Games Workshop has the means to do this army justice. Each of these models is just full of character. They seem to have made a deliberate effort to preserve the classic aesthetic rather than reinventing it. And I think that was the right path to take. First up, we have the new Tyrant sporting the red hand typical for the Meat Fist Mawtribe. I like these poses, even when they look rather static on first sight, show that little bit of dynamic, like that slight shift of weight that's about to happen in the feet as he looks to his right. The face looks rather gnarly. I like that the skin texture looks a lot more credible, like none of these deep cut scales, but rather subtle lines running across his body, sometimes deeper and sometimes more shallow. That makes it look a lot more credible and less like a plastic toy with sculpted blocks on his skin, if that makes sense. And that's a bit of a theme here for me. A lot of these sculpts look really well done. It feels a lot more like we are looking at creature design for movies rather than plastic toy soldiers. We'll talk about this more as we look at the other minis. Obviously they are sticking to the known aesthetic here. Big gut plates, large teeth or tusk-like extensions everywhere, like here on its back. And then these chunky plates that look like jaws, looking really aggressive and menacing. And all of these plates have structure, like they were hammered. I love these knee pads in particular that look like giant shells, like they really gave the ogre armors a distinct escalation of the old style that works really well in my opinion. The kit apparently comes with a variety of heads, weapons, back banners and personal items like the fur cloak on this one. Just lots of customization options, which sounds really great. One thing I'm not entirely sure about yet is the faces. Like, yes, these are supposed to be ugly mother truckers, but some of these features just look a little odd. And like, what's up with the lower lids or tear sacs and the lip raiser muscle colliding here? On this one, it even feels like there's two sets of lip raisers. I guess that's because the noses are so big, but the whole thing just throws my anatomy brain off. But again, I gotta say, the faces look a lot better in the video, so I'll wait until I can see them in person for my final judgment. Tyrants are the army's leaders, and there's a funny little detail about they're not becoming leaders because they're from a noble ogre bloodline. There's no ancient ruler dynasty, no chosen king. If an ogre wants to rule, he simply beats the previous ruler to death. It's simple, it's elegant, a direct performance review at its best. And from the leaders, we are jumping right down the bottom of the corporate ladder. The core units of this army are the gluttons, replacing the regular bulls, being more like the foot soldiers and meat shields of the army. They're obviously more subtle and simpler sculpts. It's almost like that belly plate showing the big maw is their standard issue uniform. And then we get a musician and standard bearer, obviously, but not that many details on top. Still, each of them looks very different. Especially the heads make them distinguishable individuals, which in my opinion is a very good thing to do with these elite armies made of very little models. That way you can build a relationship with each of these models, and admit it, aren't they cute? Truly a face to fall in love with. The white helmets also are a really cool design. And again, we have just so many details in the skin all these intricate lines and the definition of the muscle groups, this is really going to shine with the proper paint job. Iron Gods are the tougher units in an ogre army, packing more armor and durability, and also able to dish out lots of damage with their two-handed weapons. Just the right tool to deal with these pesky Chaos Warriors. Again, the individual armor is not looking too different from each other, making them appear as a coherent unit. And I like these poses, obviously the one stomping forward. This one is even more impressive in the video. He also has that helmet with the tusk-like lower area that's looking really menacing. But also knees over toes guys here doing the ATG split squat while shouldering his sword for some extra weight. Ben Patrick would be proud. Those knees are going to outlive Sigmar. But on a more serious note, I like that these miniatures finally physically show the impact they have in the game. Replacing the Mournfang Cavalry, which always looked a little cute to me, these small furry mounts carrying giant ogres, I never really bought it. But now we have the Maul Beast Raiders and the Maul Beast Cavalry, the later being more armored, chunky, heavy-hitting guys, and the Raiders are more of a fast scout unit. And it's reflected in their different outfits and weaponry, with close combat weapons versus ranged weapons. This one even has a little vulture reconnaissance drone. Every successful military campaign begins with proper aerial surveillance, or a bird that looks mildly interested. But the star of the show here clearly are the mounts, in my opinion. I love that these beasts start to look like actual creature designs for a movie. Not only when it comes to dynamic poses, like yeah, they're standing, but there is a raised limb and some weight shift going on. And here the really sinister looking faces. The rows of teeth and the gnarly horns are really cool designs. And while it looks like we only get 2 of these for now, you can actually switch the heads between them, so you can at least technically build 4 that look somewhat distinct. I can literally picture the conversation between corporate and designers when it came to the next few units. How much do you want the ogre background to be reflected in these models? Just go nuts. And nuts go they did. You see, in a Warhammer Fantasy, ogres worship the Great Maw, a literal, localized cosmic scar left by a meteorite that crashed into the earth and cursed them with eternal hunger. In Age of Sigmar, this concept is morphed into the concept of the Gulping God, also called the Maw, an aspect of the destruction gods who the ogres view as a multiverse-devouring entity that consumes mountains and oceans, a divine embodiment of endless appetite that tells them to eat every enemy in sight, which explains the existence of Red the Maw, High Slaughter Priest. In essence, the High Priest of the Gulping God. He's sitting on top of this giant cauldron, flanked by 2 God-seers, one of them reading tomorrow's forecast in a bunch of intestines, which is probably still going to be more accurate than my local weather app. He's pulled into battle by Gorger, who are deformed ogres shunned by the rest of their kind. And can you smell what Red is cooking? It's whatever is left of his last opponents. A nice little soup of limbs and skulls. A cool little detail is the cleaver hacked into the side of one of the posts. And the heart he's holding. Skin carcass on the back. Everything is quite a bit graphic. And it doesn't quite stop here. Another unit of this Maw Seeker part of the ogres is the Butchers, and this guy is drenched in blood, holding a giant cleaver in one hand and another victim in the other. Really freaking disturbing. Of course, everything is painted in bright colors, so the blood stains and splatters are clearly visible and make an impact. And I think the Heavy Metal team produced a really realistic way to paint these splatters on the belly here, for example. I like the edematose tissue up here on the shoulder, whether that's painted or sculpted, and of course the flappy chicken wings. And I don't even want to know what is going on in the cauldron here. The reason why butchers look so gluttonous and overeaten is that their magic literally comes from eating. They consume organs, perform rituals with meat, and carve magic symbols into their own flesh. It's a bit disgusting, but on the other hand, completely on brand. Cleavers are fanatical followers of the Butcher, and again, I just love how the designers have brought these gluttonous bodies to life. Flaps of skin stretching over muscle and almost looking like they are flopping around with more dynamic poses. There's more double chins on these than arms, And again, the way the heavy metal team painted these up looks amazing. I love the blood, the pale and edematous skin tones, and also the corroded metals. A variant of these are the Godseekers, who seem to be tapped even more into the magic of them all. And besides their sinister hoods, what stands out to me the most is the gut plates and their patterns that look more like intestines. Like, I'm pretty sure that's an appendix, something we already saw in the Pauldron of Red, for example. Something we didn't see yet is Noblars, and I'll be kind of sad if they're gone, but I really won't get my hopes up, because what we have seen of the rules so far doesn't make it look like they will return. Games Workshop really has an impressive talent for making one half of the player base incredibly happy, while quietly deleting the favorite unit of the other half. Now we're moving on to new 40k releases, and the biggest thing that stood out is that we are getting official Eldar Exodite models. This was a very popular subject for conversions and Golden Demon entries, and it really showed the creativity of the community. With the newest Kill Team box came these models that will finally put a part of well-loved 40k lore in the game. Exodites are a fraction of Eldar society that fled their empire millennia before the fall to escape their kin's hedonism. They usually settled on these remote and harsh worlds, basically doomsday preppers who were proven right. Often the worlds they settled were dominated by dangerous megafauna, which the Exodites often turned into awesome rides. I don't think the type of animal they are riding is specified in the lore, but very often they're shown riding lizards, and we're also getting lizards with this release. Within Kill Team, this manifests as a very agile playstyle, high movement, being able to jump up on terrain, and it's only 3 units, which I think is the least minutes in a Kill Team so far, so that tells you that they're going to be an elite team. So the riders look really cool, and we're getting 3 different types. One close combat unit, a sniper, and a mage type. I like the little feather detail on their armor. I guess personally I would have liked if they leaned even more into these details, where maybe they had to make do with what they could find on the new planets to repair their armors, or maybe as an additional trophy here and there. The version that will get rules for 40k is the Exodite Dragon Knights, and I gotta say I'm a bit torn about whether I like these mounts or not. The heads look a little retro, almost like some of the old metal dragons from Warhammer Fantasy. They somehow look simultaneously brand new and like they escaped from a White Dwarf magazine from 1994. They look rather exotic, especially with the spread out quills on this version, but then I look at all these spiky scales, and while I like that this makes them look like a hybrid between lizards and birds, it looks a little intimidating to paint. One thing I definitely don't like is the lines in the bigger scales on the underside. I've seen this on a couple of Warhammer minis, and I get that this is to add a little more detail on otherwise boring parts, but I don't think it's the right approach. But overall, these are really cool. Again, as mentioned earlier, I think the beasts we're getting from the Warhammer design teams are getting better and better. Just look at this Dragon Knight pose. I don't know if I will get them right away, maybe a bit further down the line. The other part of the kill team is a bunch of orcs. We get 10 beast snaggers, which you can easily use as regular orc boys if you want to fancy up your orc army a little, or if you want to build a beast snagger themed army, of course. And in true Kill Team box fashion, we get a couple of funny variants, like this Noblar riding a motorized squig. Orcs are getting more releases, and while I'm not super into orc vehicles, as you know by now, I think the orc mech looks really cool. I love the little crane on the back, and how he's sucking on that screw like it's a cigar. The truck will be buildable in 3 variants, and again, this does nothing for me personally. I took one look at the assembly of the Armageddon vehicles and I instantly cried a little inside. But if you are into this, I think this is a really cool kit. What I'm really looking for ever since it got leaked is the War Boss. So many cool versions you can build from this kit. In addition, they just showed us this Commissar head variant. I'm really hyped for it. Custodes are getting a new Dreadnought. The Telmon Heavy Dread is a huge chunker and sports a very big variety of different weapon options. Personally, I'm not too excited for this. I'm just not a fan of pure metallic schemes, especially if there's a lot of vehicles. I get the appeal of Custodes. I love painting up a couple of the infantry, and I can even see myself painting one in non-metallic metal again for the fun of it. But I can't see myself painting a Dreadnought, and especially not one as big as this one. Maybe I'll eventually paint one of the Gyre Falcon jet bikes though, the flat panels offering a lot of room for freehands. I'm not a fan of the metallic swirls, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple of things that will work here. Maybe some contrast paint and chipping, flaked off paint and scratch marks, as well as exhaust fumes and so on. These jetpacks are just really fancy designs. You don't really see that a lot in 40k or 30k. The Palace Graph attack looks a little like a pod racer to me, so I'm not sure. I can see myself using the engines for some kind of Necromunda conversion. Is there pod racing on Necromunda? And speaking about Necromunda, it's getting a new edition and core set that includes an Escher gang and a Goliath gang. And I'm assuming these factions are the most popular ones if they end up in a core set. Personally, I do have a Dalak gang. I just like the more sneaky playstyle, and the minis reminded me of the aliens from the movie Dark City. I don't get to play a lot of Necromunda these days, but these minis are a really cool refresh. They all look like individual characters, like the one that is all battered and bruised and is still in a boxing stance, or the dual akimbos with ammo feet. And that is just a cool thing to go with how the game works. Some really over-the-top poses and action shots, and there's also a few nice female faces in this set. And the same is true for the Goliaths, a really cool mix between some chunky boys and some more specialized weapons. Necromunda is just such a precious part of the 40k universe. Doesn't matter if it's conversions and kit bashes by the community or just the out-of-the-box models. This box also comes with some great terrain. I always like the Necromunda terrain, whether that's Zone Mortalis or any of the other sets. Just some really cool and characterful stuff. Another system that always gets cool releases is Blood Bowl. I never played Blood Bowl in my life, but even I know about the legendary star player Morgan Torque. And this is a great refresh in plastic. Generally, it's a cool thing that these minis are coming in different ways to assemble them, which in this case is of course part of his backstory, since he plays for whatever team offers the most money, or the most faces to break. He doesn't care. The new Minotaur is also a multi-version kit. I'm not a fan of the blocky anatomy, but I guess that's some kind of throwback. And there's also a new Rat Ogre in plastic, which kind of has the same blocky anatomy. So maybe this is just part of the design philosophy. And then we got one more special treat, which is one half of this new Warhammer, the Old World Core box. Don't get me wrong, Grand Cathay is the best White Scars upgrade sprue ever released, but these Chaos models are just something else. All of them are looking like an Adrian Smith painting poured into miniature form, which is the highest compliment I can give a Chaos miniature, because we all know Adrian Smith's Chaos designs made the archetype of warriors that kind of define these villains in the world of Warhammer. If we are looking at the Chaos Champions, one thing that stands out is the detail overload, which I'm usually not a fan of, but for this faction it's just the perfect approach. Inks and washes are going to be your best friend with these, bringing out different metals, steel, gold, brass and copper. And then there's some specks of different textures that stand out, like the horns and the banner, the skin of the horse, or various kinds of leathers. This is a very similar refresh to what they did with the Ogres. Modernized minis is staying true to the original design ideas. Back in the early 2000s, I was amazed by the Chaos Knights and I collected a Chaos army, and this gives me very similar vibes. I love the more stocky horses and all the different styles of armor and shields. I also like the sharp angles and clean lines that the new plastic production offers, like on the trims, and seeing it applied to these concepts that already existed more than 20 years ago. All the awesome poses are almost wasted because this is rank and file, of course, but just having a block of miniatures with great poses kind of elevates an army like this to the next level. Also getting a brand new Chaos Dragon, this time with 2 heads, and this is just really such an imposing centerpiece for this army. This comes in so many variants again, whether you want to put a Chaos General on top or some wicked Sorcerer Lord. I really like the book. The scribbling in there is fantastic, and just look at this headgear. And the frail, hunched over body is just peak Warhammer. So yeah, my wallet is filing for a restraining order, but I honestly think this preview was packed with fantastic releases, especially these Ogres and the Old World Chaos refresh. But what do you think? Which of these are you definitely buying? What are you skipping? Let me know in the comments.